Welcome back. Today is Saturday, May 11th at 7:20 p.m. My name is James, and let's take a look and see what's happened this past week. And then we'll look at the charts that we've been following. So the S&P did pretty much what I thought would happen. The volatility was going on all week. We touched this lower line or came very, very close to it. Began to bounce off, which is really good. That means that that support's going to hold, and that support is what was resisting us here and then here, and then we finally got over it. So it's now support. Basically, it has actually turned into support, which is good. As long as we can still get some more positive China trade talk, the market should try to go higher. So now even here we have a hammer. This is the hammer, this is the reaction. So that's kind of the follow through of the hammer. So a downtrend into a hammer, off support, starting to bounce up. That's all really good, as long as the news, helps that trend continue. Any news will trump the trend. So anything that is negative as far as the China stuff is just going to send us lower, straight through that support. Hopefully that doesn't happen. The NASDAQ, same kind of thing. It didn't quite make it all the way down to here, but that's still good. It doesn't have to do that. The S&P is doing that. That's really the one that we want to see right now, I think. And then the Russell is bouncing off some trend lines. That's the 200-day right there. And then the 50 closing above the 50 is good. So bouncing off the 200, closing above the 50, that's pretty positive. Especially these two bars. Hammer-like bars after a downward move is good. Hopefully, as long as the news stays positive, we should now see upside this week, or at least sideways, not just big red downside bars. The oscillator is at a negative 27, and so if we do get upside, there's really nothing in the oscillator that would prevent that from happening. There's no, we're not oversold, or sorry, we're not overbought, so we got lots of room to try to get going higher. Let's take a look here at the list. Lockheed Martin took off this week. I was going to wait all week. Like, I mismatched myself. I didn't buy that because I wanted to wait. But Lockheed Martin I did buy. I thought this pattern looked too good for me to not try at least. I bought it right in here, really close to the line. It wasn't on as big a volume as I would like. But I bought into it anyway because I figured if this market is actually going to see any kind of a bounce, because I figured if there was any positive trade news at all, which is kind of what we got on Thursday and then on Friday, the market would begin to rebound. And one of these really good looking stocks would go with it. And I'm going to show you quite a few actually went. So it didn't have as good volume as I wanted. I still bought into it. Friday was a bit dicey as it started to come back, and it actually came below the breakout point, and then it finally started to go up towards close. So it looks pretty good so far. I'll probably be moving my stop to break even before this next week starts. Mongo, again, this is a very strong stock. It's holding it really, really well. Hasn't broke out yet, but that's fine. Still within this pattern, still obeying that trend line. When it goes, I think it's really going to take off. Pay attention to Mongo. I think it's once it crosses that line, I think it's just going to go. Now consolidating nicely and actually broke out. I wish the volume was higher, but it wasn't, so it started to come over the line. You could have bought it there. I think just use your stops. Even though the volume was light, it's kind of like Lockheed. I've seen many times where I have this volume requirement of 150% or greater, but sometimes the stock will just make its way over the line on lighter volume. It holds, and then the volume comes in. 2 or 3 days later, you see a big high volume day. So a lot of times you kind of just gotta take it as it crosses, set your stop. If you get stopped out, fine. If you don't, the volume might still show up. ZS took off on huge volume. I'm not even sure what the catalyst was here. Its earnings are until June 5th, but wow, did that take off. Nice break of the symmetrical triangle. Really big volume. That was a nice move. Shopify, bull flagging. This is one I would really like to try myself. But for me personally, I'm trying to stick to one stock at a time right now. It's just a choice I made, and I might make another adjustment later for my own trading plan. But Shopify looks really, really strong, and that consolidation looks really nice. Now, normally for breakouts, I would want to be in from here or even here, because I'm trying to grab onto longer term patterns, so either 3 or 4 weeks or greater, not these. I typically don't like these, but I think Shopify is pretty strong. I think it's actually going to break out from there and keep going higher. Facebook, I don't know what this thing's doing now. It looks more like a descending channel is going to form here rather than a bull flag, because it ran into some news that just kind of made it. So just keep an eye on that. I'm going to keep adjusting the lines if it keeps kind of wiggling around, and we might lose the pattern altogether. But so far it's obeying these lines as I adjust them, so we'll see what it does. CRM, now here's a good technical read of this. This line has been completely obeyed right here. So even when you get downside action, I drew the lines from these points here, it ended up here, totally obeying those lines, bounce, 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 bounce. That line is absolutely the support, which means this is most likely the absolute resistance, so we know that we've got a good pattern going. Of course, if the market gets weak and something turns it around, it could fall right through, but so far the action is right on exactly what we want to see. Palo Alto is another example of that. It's got a nice channel. This line was set from back here and here, and now we're getting a bounce right off those lines. Still in the channel for Palo Alto. Match had a fantastic breakout on earnings. I talked about it in a different video. I nearly bought it. I decided not to, but you can see the nice bounce and nice bounce. So again, for this, my stop would still be down here at the break-even point. You want to get in as close to the line as possible, break-even point, and you can see, even if you look at your own chart, it never touched that. This bar came way back down, still never touched break-even, and now you got this rebound and another rebound right up there. Strong stock. TW, I don't know if I got it in the video last week. I think I did, but you can see what happened. Earnings were this day. Sure, it dipped, came back, closed above the line, and then finally upside. Hopefully that will continue. That's a good move though. PI, still forming the little ascending triangle flag kind of pattern. Hubs, I'm trying to figure out what this is. I've adjusted these lines a couple of times, and this kind of makes sense because you got a touch here, and close that's close to it, and then you got several touches here. Bull flag kind of pattern. I think this stock is really strong. I'm just trying to figure out where the pattern is, and I think that's right, especially the top lines. I think you can follow that line, and if it breaks over the top line, that's going to be the breakout. DOMO is very similar to ZS, but hasn't broken out yet. And earnings aren't until June 6th, so still within the pattern. We're just waiting to see what it does. Ollie. So here's a good example of kind of like what I just mentioned with Lockheed, where the price just kept going and went right over the top of the line on low volume. This was a low volume day down here. You can see it on your own chart. Since I know you can't see the volume, just so you know, I know that you can't see the volume in the video. But it rolled over here on low volume, bounced and moved up again, and then finally moved up again. Volume was a little better on the last 2 days, this day and this day, but wasn't really big on the actual breakout. But if you buy on the breakout, set your stop. Hopefully it doesn't stop you out after you buy, and then volume seems to come in later. I've noticed that a lot lately. I don't know if it's a new trend going on or if it's just something that happens once in a while, but yeah, sometimes you want to go, if you see a really great pattern, you just want to get in as it crosses the line and hold your stop and see what happens. Volume is likely to come in at some point if that is a strong stock. Coupa has wiggled around. There was a trend line right across the top here that I had, and that was this breakout. I took that off because this just formed a bull flag, and now it actually broke out of that bull flag on Friday. Again, that was a light volume breakout, but it moved over the line. That thing has danced around a little bit for a while though, up, down, up, down, up, down in that area. It might not actually be a bull flag where that angled top line is right. It might need to get all the way over here before that would be any sort of a buy again or something, or a re-entry or add point, whatever. Just keep an eye on it. It still looks strong. I think Cooper still looks strong. Tesla, I'm not sure if we're gonna have to take this out of here or not, but this is still valid, even though it's having trouble with the main lower support there of this huge channel. We'll see. I would imagine that if we get a really strong day in the market this week, that Tesla would react and move up back into the channel. Just wait and see. I wouldn't be buying that right now, but give it some time, see what it does. Spotify, I'm really starting to hate this stock, but here we have a symmetrical triangle now. We'll see if it follows these. The reason I say I hate the stock, in case you didn't know, is I had tracked it, I think back here, and it did all kinds of things that didn't make any sense to me, and I readjusted, and it never actually broke out. Even on its earnings, it couldn't get going, which were right in here, gapped up into a sell-off. There's no momentum in Spotify, which is frustrating, but it's still forming these patterns, and it still looks to me like it's consolidating. So I would just keep an eye on it, because that's the kind of stock that will eventually just get flooded with buying and the stock just takes off. ZM, let me widen this up. This is an IPO from back there. It's not that old, but here we've got a nice little consolidation and an almost breakout of the high, absolute high there. Have to check when its earnings are. Make sure you check that just so you don't get caught. AYR is another one with a symmetrical triangle. Looks really, really nice. About 2050 is the area up there. Currently anyway. CMG, this is super expensive, but looks like it's going to break out of here. So it's got a clear resistance point here. That's lasted a good while, since April 1st. Wow, April 1st. Still follows it, touch all the way along, can't get over, and now we've got upside price action on the bottom there. That looks like it's going to go soon, and it's this high right here, 721.42. CMG, so keep an eye on that one as well. If I go into this list, let me just take a quick glance through here. Lulu still dancing along that line. IBB looked like a good short at one point. Now we're getting rebounds. I would stay away from it altogether. In fact, let me just get rid of it so I don't have to talk about it again. TD got tanked on its earnings, so that's a good buy. Netflix is not really got a pattern anymore. I'll take that out completely as well. Brooks Automotive is one I just added. I don't really have any lines on it yet, but I see this big spike on nice big volume, and now we're starting to do something here. I'll keep an eye on that, see what it turns into. And then Etsy, I probably got to abandon this guy too, because there's no pattern there anymore. So that's it. The next video I do will be Monday night for Tuesday, and I'll see you then.